And I'm Justin. Hello.
Hello, Justin. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good.
You're nice and chipper. Talking about fun stuff today.
Yeah, and I think I had a vacation in the midst of our not recording. I did try to grow a beard. It didn't work really well. I didn't really like it. But
what happened? Was it patchy? Did it get a little gray?
No, I don't know. I don't like a beard. I've tried. I hate the feel of it. And I hate the presence of it. And I don't know. It just
I hate everything about
it. It just makes me depressed. It was like I feel this thing there, and I'm just like, I got this thing on me. I got my drink going into the hairs, and but
every now and then it's like we feel like you got. It's like you want to see who that dude is when you just let your beard grow out. Like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
Who is that wild man?
Yeah, it's like I had a week off. I didn't feel like I needed to shave, so I was like, I'll try it out. And then I tried another week at work trying to grow it, and I'm just like, no, I got it. Towards the end of the week, I was like, it's got to go. It's got to go.
I appreciate the people who can grow like nice, soft, like flowing beards, but mine are like curly and wiry and like a grill brush, basically growing out of my face. So I'll pass. Justin, I'm very excited for our topic for today. But let's tell the folks at home what do we do here? What is this? What are they listening to?
We talk about beards.
Beards. Beardcast.
Well, this is the podcast, if you haven't been here before, where we find a topic. We try to figure out what our favorite thing of that topic is. We might do a little bit of research, sometimes in midst of the show, or like
sometimes it's wrong.
Yes, so please tell us if it's wrong. We want to know. Not really. We don't really care. We'll just make another episode to correct it someday. We just find a topic, do some research. We like to talk, though. That's really why we're here. We like to talk about why we like something so much.
That's right. This week we're going to be talking about our favorite Pixar movies. Now, we talked animated Disney movies, but Pixar is in a class all its own, deserving of its own episode and focus here. But before we get there, besides this episode, there's some people right now that are watching us, and they can see us, and you can see that on our Patreon page, and you can see things like that, get access to bonus episodes, and get stuff early. You can be like the other cool people that are on our Patreon page, like 8-Bit Sean, Mac40K Painting, Josh Benoit, and all of our honorable mentions, our shout-outs, our people that support us. We thank you all. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your constant support.
One thing that to bring up that we forgot to mention before the show is we have a bonus episode coming out very soon, potentially during the airing of the show.
Yeah, well, it's coming out right now as we speak. Yes, Justin, do you want to tell the viewers, the listeners, what it is?
I'll leave it for you because I feel like this is more.
Can't help it. I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about the film and also the PS2 video game, The Warriors, which is based on a book by some dude.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll find out his name.
Yeah. But yes. When we record that bonus episode, it's coming out.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, we didn't really bring it up. Yes, a very fun movie, a very kind of silly but very earnest movie. We're going to be having a lot of fun breaking it down. And it's a movie that's like in so much of pop culture too. So many people have like done things from The Warriors, making the motions, It was a lot of fun. I'm really excited for people to see it.
Yes.
So
we do have one more extra thing to talk about today, right?
That's right. We have like a little like special shout out we'd like to give to a listener, supporter of the show, an author by the name of Dawson Emmerich, who has a book coming out on September 30th. And you could pre-order this book, and the title, Llamapocalypse.
Yes.
Yep.
Llamas.
It's about
llamas,
apocalypse.
Right? You said llamas? No, because it sounded like mamas, actually, at first, when I first heard it. No, llamas, right?
Llamas, yes. So I'm going to give you a brief rundown of it. But you can see it on Amazon. You can look it up. You can pre-order it if you like.
Go check out the link, if anything. Go check out the cover art of this book. Because that there, that is worth the $3 pre-order charge right there.
You save a bunch on pre-ordering, but yeah, it's worth it just to see this art. It's amazing. So it says, in a far-flung future where humankind is on the brink of extinction, Tommy Tony embarks on one last mission to eradicate a vicious army of mutated llamas.
That's Tommy and Tony, or just Tommy Tony?
Tommy Tony, not Tommy Two-Tone, not Tony Tommy,
not Tom and Jerry,
Tommy Tony, not Tom and Jerry. But and their tyrannical leader Spitfire. Okay, they threaten to destroy humanity. So yes, you heard that right, Justin. I said llamas. So it's like a funny satirical look at post-apocalyptic and action movies, and as the description says, lots of laughs, bad puns, irreverent comedy, and maybe answers to life's greatest questions. So check out Dawson Emmerich's Llamapocalypse.
I have a lot of questions with just the synopsis, so hopefully he answers those too. But yeah, we'll have a link in the show notes. So just check that out, and hope you like it.
Yeah, absolutely. We figured. I mean, we don't usually do things like this, but we figured we're like, our listeners would dig this. So, yeah. I mean, like we said, checking out the cover art for this is worth it in and of itself. But anyways, speaking of art and animation and awesome, yes, give me a thumbs up for that segue.
Are there llamas in Pixar movies? Is there a movie with Pixar movies that has a llama?
No,
I don't think
there's a Disney movie, The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh well, yeah, right? Yeah,
but that's not a Pixar movie.
Yeah, there's not a Pixar, no. But I like that. I like llamas because of that movie. But yes.
Huh?
I do.
Before we get into the nitty gritty, you got something for me? What you got for me?
Well, this is actually a really nice surprise topic. So it's not like pulling for threads like sometimes we do. Like, what's your favorite palette of color?
Yep. Okay. So what do you got? What's your question?
What, Paul, is your favorite Pixar animated short?
Ooh.
Because usually when you go to see a Pixar movie, there's always some sort of animated short that plays before in the theater. So like, there's always like sort of like kind of a little mini movie, or little mini thing made by Pixar Animation Studios that is prior to that.
Before the actual feature presentation.
So like the first one that I think people know is the lamp, right? The lamp has always been like the key thing of Pixar, the playful lamp, and I think the first one that came out was during Toy Story. I think it was Toy Story, the first one. And it was them playing with the ball and things like that. But they've made one, every single Pixar movie has always had some sort of animated short that is played before the film.
Yeah, so I think the lamp's name is Luxo. Yes. It actually has a name.
Luxo and Luxo Jr. Luxo Jr. is the animated short where they play with the ball.
Man, I'm trying to remember. Okay, there were two that I remember that I really thought were cool. One is they're all like only a few minutes. One Man Band. Do you remember that one?
One Man Band was one. I don't remember that one as much, but that was one.
I liked that one. I thought that was cool. It's animated pretty well. And the one with the unicycle. What was that one?
I don't remember the unicycle one.
Somebody's dream.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. Mine, I have two that I really want to talk about. Because the first one, I think I realized when I realized they made shorts, what made me kind of excited for all the shorts was Gerald's Game.
Okay,
that's where the old guy is playing chess with himself, and he has like the different personalities.
Oh yes, I do remember that.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
That one
is a good one.
I love that one. I remember like when I first saw it, because like back then, I mean, like, you know, I think that one came out with one of the first few Pixar movies, maybe Bug's Life or something like that. I can't remember because each of them are tied to a certain kind of theatrical release. And I remember like seeing the animation for that old man. Like I rewatched it recently. I'm like, wow, it looks dated. You can kind of see it, but it still holds its own. It still has its charm, and that's, you know, the one thing about Pixar movies. You know, we talked heavily about Studio Ghibli earlier this season about how it had sort of the sort of charm or sort of vibe to it, right? Pixar movies kind of do too. And
I feel like they have their own aesthetic, yeah. And
I feel like those shorts really kind of emphasize, like, you know, I don't know, like how they were able to create character. Each of their characters has like you know, this me using 3D animation really kind of really brought those characters to life, and I feel like Gerald's Game really kind of emphasizes that, like from the very beginning, you know.
It's funny you like this is actually a really good way to start talking about Pixar because I mean that's like how so many early 3D animation films were. They were like 4 or 5 minutes at the most, you know. So it had to be a really like a well written, self containing story, you know, that got a message across in just a few minutes because the technology was so limited. I mean, Toy Story is 1995 when it came out, so like the technology has certainly changed, but I mean yeah, like that's 3D animation at its earliest days is just like making a few minutes short, you know, like making a 5 minute short,
And
just to show you like what they could do, and it's kind of like where they test animation too,
yeah,
you know, like try different like character models and
I
different
actually
kind of
have a sense
techniques.
of understanding of that because I mean I went to art school, and my show partner, you know, who I did my, you know, he did his own art. He worked in the Maya studio, so like he made 3D animation, and I
Hmm.
saw all the
Hmm.
time, and we didn't even have anyone to teach it. He just like, I want to learn this, so he just learned it himself, and
Wow.
like he just like, you know, the time that's involved in making those things and to try to make something that actually that was a relevant way to tell a story like you would with 2D animation, right?
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
there's a lot more to it to create it more believable versus just a 2D kind of sense to it. You know, eventually 2D animation brought in 3D kind of elements using computer graphics and things like that. But you know, Pixar was like the driving factor, and it's crazy where Pixar came from because they were Industrial Light and Magic. They were part of that at one point, which I think
Yeah.
is really kind of
Didn't
crazy.
didn't Steve Jobs own them at some point?
Yeah,
You know,
it's
like
like, I mean, George Lucas I think was a part of them at one point too. It's like this weird kind of passing around, and then John Lasseter, which is the person that wrote the Luxo Junior, the lamp. You know, he just sort of kind of became like the kind of the main voice of that studio and that animation place, and then obviously Disney just gobbles everything up. So that's why they're there
yep.
now. Because
Yep.
really, I think everyone associated them with Disney. I mean, at the longest time, they were always independent. They just kind of had like some Disney connections, you know. And this is just
It's like
me.
they just like formalized. They were like, okay, well, you just come with us. It's
Yeah,
fine. Just come under this umbrella.
yeah.
You can
But
keep doing what you're doing.
But yeah, so Gerald's Game was one that I really, really liked. One that's beautiful to watch. Like this shows like the animation, and we watched it last night, but I remember seeing it in theaters when I went to see Finding Dory, and
I
I was
think I know
blown
which one.
away. It's called Piper, and
Oh, okay. Is it the birds?
yeah, it's like the bird in the sand in the water. It's
Ah,
not that's
okay.
the bird one is like for the bird. That's like the silly one where they're on the electrical wire. But
No, not that. I know which one you're talking about, Piper, because that's like pretty recent,
yeah, it's like Finding Dory, like
right?
2016, and like just
Yeah.
like the way they handle water, like the way the feathers are handled, the animation of this,
Hmm.
just the granularness of the sand. Like that's the main thing. It's like they have each its own independent motion, and it's just phenomenal. Like and it's a cute little story. It's like any other short story. It's like it has like a cute little, you know, kind of message and narrative to it that's like fun. But like really, the animation blew me away. I love that so much.
That's what's so cool about. I mean, like, yeah, we talked about Studio Ghibli and their kind of way of doing things and the care that they take, and there is that like Pixar aesthetic, like what they and I really I just wonder like how much of the shorts are done for their own like kind of enjoyment and like kind of just to test out new technology.
Hmm.
Because I'm like almost picturing. I don't know if you ever watched like the Lord of the Rings appendices, like behind the scenes stuff where they were like showing how they make like a massive army on screen, where it's like each individual guy has like a list of actions that he can do. So like he'll run into somebody, he'll attack, he'll jump. I wonder if they're doing that for like the grains of sand. Like this grain of
Yeah.
sand, it can spin to this one. It can combine with another thing.
Well,
This is what happens when it gets wet.
I remember when they started into really deep. I used to like got a deep dive into some of the technology back when Pixar first came around, and I remember like a big documentary I watched on Monsters Incorporated and how they handle hair, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
you know how it moves and flows, and just it's just they create a whole entire program for it, you know, and it's just like it's crazy. They make programs just to allow that animation to work the way they want it to work. It's not.
Yeah.
There's an artist. There's an artist behind it, but yet there's an actual almost like that developerness to it too, like a video game. Crazy fun fact, and I just saw this today. To kind of time this episode a little bit today, Donkey Kong Country 2 came out. I know you're excited. And
Diddy's Conquest, baby.
That game came out in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just weird seeing that's where video games were, and that's where Pixar came up with Toy Story, and like the difference in quality of animation between where games were, and now almost games are like that quality now.
Yeah.
It's almost better. It's like you're gonna have that kind of animation quality a little bit in a video game, and I just thought that was kind of a weird timestamp of like where the medium was at that time. And it was because I was like I hopped it on my 4K TV. I'm like, wow, this is so boxy. I don't remember it looking like this at all.
It's so boxy.
Definitely not the pinnacle.
Looks so digital.
But it's just a weird timestamp, like where Pixar was. Like I think back at Toy Story, and like I watched Toy Story. I mean, this is more of a history thing. I watched it again on my 4K TV when I got the Disney Plus, and I'm like, wow, this is so vibrant. It holds up. It like almost looks better than I remember. Like, a lot of times you go back to a movie, it's like, this looks like crap. Like this is not. This is not what I remember.
You can't see the strings in it. Like it's still like a solid film. Like it was put together well, and it was so clean. Like the motion of everything in there is so clean. Like I think that's what like astounded people. Like it's a good story, great characters, but visually like it's very pleasing to watch. It's like it like is so easy on the eyes. You're like, this is exactly what I want to see right now.
And that's why I feel like they don't spend too much time with the people in the earlier movies too much, like animating people. And the people do have it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge presence in the first movie of actual, but they're kids and they don't have to show emotion. It's just laughter or sadness. It's not.
And they really don't show a lot of their faces either. Yeah.
Yeah, except for Sid, who's kind of weird. And
yes, they spent a lot of time on. They probably wrote a whole program for his braces.
But like, I mean, that they were smart in what they could do. I mean, you think about the story of the journey of Pixar, of where they started with as far as like working with toys and bugs, and then like I think after that it was like they kind of stayed like in Toy Story, and then they went to monsters, and it took a long time, and then even Cars and so forth, and eventually they started going things like Brave and actually bringing in human elements, and I'm just shouting out every single one of them, but just a kind of a conversation on like the journey of Pixar. It's just kind of a cool thing to think about. I guess I don't know.
No, I agree. Like, it was probably, I don't know if it was like a conscious decision, like, okay, now we can animate people better. But it's not like the characters in Brave or in Frozen are like anatomically correct. They're all still cartoons.
Yeah.
But they're animating faces better. I think it's like they found their own kind of style. Because if you look through like all of Pixar's movies, there is like a very distinct kind of way people are designed.
Yep.
And kind of like, there's people of all shapes and sizes. Like the old man from Up is not the same as like Randy or Andy's mom from Toy Story. But you could, if like it's animated well, you could kind of see them in the same world.
Yeah, like
you could kind of see them bridging the gaps
them in the
between
same.
them.
It's like almost Pixar. I think there was probably theories of them how could they all fit in the same universe, kind of a thing.
I don't know who. Yeah, sure. Like,
I mean, but there are ways to do it because the way the stories are told. I mean, like Andy could live over here, and and all that stuff. But like, they could fit. I mean, Cars would be kind of weird, I guess. But
Wall-E is in the distant future.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cars
is weird.
One other short that I do want to shout out though is I gotta bring up the name of it. Is Lou?
Is it Bao?
I watched Bao first time last night. That was actually fun, but
I like Bao a lot. I was gonna shout that one out as well.
That's a cute one. It's kind of weird at the same time.
It's a food one too. I love it.
Oh my god! I mean, she just like eats her son in a weird sense, but even though it's a dumpling, but still.
It's a dumpling. It's a dumpling. It's delicious. Why wouldn't you eat it?
It's La Luna. That's a really, really nice one too.
Okay.
It's a cool one. It's like it's sort of a reference because they all have little messages, right? But it's like what they do is it's a bunch of janitors. They have brooms, and one's a kid, and one's an older man, and one's like his middle-aged man. So you have the three generations, and like the older man's telling him he has to do things one way, and the middle-aged man is telling him he has to do things this way. So they're kind of like forcing this younger generation to follow which way they think is the right way. And then but the whole story is like them going up to the moon with a ladder, and they pretty much brush all these like stars off the moon, and to make it look like a half moon or a crescent moon. That's like their job, I guess. But it's really cute. And but then like a gigantic star like crashes on the moon. They don't know how to get rid of it, so they're trying to use their broom or their other. They have two different brooms. Like the older guy has like a normal like, kind of like your normal what you would associate broom, where the middle-aged man has a push broom. So they're trying to show him like this young kid that you have to use their way is better. But he just goes and looks at it and thinks about it, and he goes and breaks it with a hammer so they have all these little stars. So it's like say like, oh, the younger generation has a good idea too, so we should all like accept it. It's a really cute, like visually cool story. Like that actually kind of really fitting to the time that we live in right now. It's like
gets its point across, and it doesn't knock you over the head with symbolism or anything. It's just like, oh look. Yeah. We all have good ideas to share. We should share them with each other.
Yeah, like initially, like they're like telling how he has to wear his hat. Like he says you have to wear it like put down your eyes. The other guy, you have to push, hold the hat up a little bit above so you can see your hair and forehead. And then eventually the kid, he just puts it backwards. So it's like it's showing.
Kids these days.
They don't want to listen to their elders
with their skateboards and backwards hats.
But yeah. Just want to shout that one out. Yeah, so I think that's a good place to stop so we can actually talk about all these movies I just mentioned.
Yeah, so let's get to it. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about our honorable.
And welcome back to continuing our conversation on Pixar Animation Studios. I don't know why we're like that.
LLC.
And off the air, I tried to correct Paul that Frozen is not Pixar.
I know, I'm sorry. I think I said it. But we were talking about animation in general. You know what I mean?
I was going to let it slide, but I want to be a jerk.
No, but actually, no, I was thinking that I bet that like there is some cross-pollination between Pixar studios and Disney studios. Like their animators must talk to each other. They must share their experience.
They don't like each other. That's what happens.
Yeah, it's like the Jets and the Sharks. They
try to sabotage you. That's what happened to Good Dinosaur. That's why that movie.
I think the only person that likes that movie is my son. I don't know why. Like we had like a good. I was gonna bring it up. I'll shout it out right now. I'll say The Good Dinosaur. It's a crappy premise, but the actual like story of like the actual like bonding of the two main characters of Spot, the human being, and Arlo the dinosaur is good. It's actually pretty good. Like I think that like the actual like character development is decent, but the film itself is batshit crazy. Like it's just all over the place with what happened. Like, okay, so if the meteor doesn't hit, then dinosaurs will farm, I guess. Like
I tried watching it for the first time actually for this episode because I was like there was a few that I just missed. And I was trying to watch a couple, and then I had time with just my youngest daughter, who loves dinosaurs. And she actually owns the dinosaur from Good Dinosaur, and has watched this movie before, so she picked that to watch. I'm like, okay, I haven't seen this one, I guess I'll watch it. I couldn't get halfway through it. It's like, she's like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I don't like it anymore. I'm like, I was like, I don't really care what happens in this movie.
I don't care if he gets home or what.
It's like,
who cares?
I don't know. I mean, one thing I'll give it though is that when you first start it though, the animation like of the scenery is amazing.
I gotta say, it's always like the little things in Pixar movies that get me, and it was the dinosaur's skin that I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool. Like I guess that is what dinosaur skin might look like. Like and it like when it gets wet, I was like, well done.
I mean, now according to scientists, they should have feathers. So,
probably.
That's where they're feathers. But anyways, aside from The Good Dinosaur, I'm sure it's fine if I finish it. I kind of want to finish it just to see what happens in the end. But yeah, it was weird how it got to where it got to, and then I just sort of lost interest a little bit. I'm just like, I can see where this is going. They're just gonna go on a buddy movie. They're bringing friends, and then he's going to do something that's going to make his mark at the end. That's really what I see him coming.
Yep. It's funny because he doesn't really do anything when he gets back. He just gets back, and that's like the end. he does help Spot. Let's say, he resolves that storyline. But when he gets back home, they're just like, "Yay, you're back!
We didn't lose we didn't lose another family member! Yay!
Yay!"
Okay, so let's talk about actual good movies.
I'm gonna say that my honorable mention, my first honorable mention that I want to bring up is Cars 3.
Oh, now I am surprised.
Take a deep breath, take a step back, just hear me out. So I actually, the first and the third Cars movies are actually pretty enjoyable. I did not think I would like them, and after watching them many times with my son, I have come to appreciate what they're trying to do with that movie. The animation is cool, and I really just it's great character work. The first one is fine, but really, the third one is a great way to end a trilogy. To end in no more sequels. This is how you pass the torch on to the next generation. Now watch, you're gonna find out that there's Cars 4 coming out. But
I was gonna say
anyways. In this sequel heavy landscape that we're all navigating, it's nice to see them showing this is what happens when you get older. Lightning McQueen gets older. He's not as fast anymore. He his top speed, which is still pretty fast, there's better cars coming out. They're going to get better and better. And it's not about his ego anymore. It's about how can I pass on my knowledge of how to race and how to win. Not I have the better machine, therefore I will win. It's all about what being a racer is versus having the best equipment, and that's why he he passes the torch to Cruz. I forget her last name. I'm sure it's some kind of pun, but it's Cruz something. But I mean, the first one's about going fast and dealing with the retirement of a legend and kind of being taught by Doc Hudson and another. I'm just going to say the Cars movies deal with age and aging and what it is to pass on your knowledge better than most movies, better than even regular movies, not just animated
and that's
movies.
The beauty with Pixar. I mean, we kind of touched on it before the break. Is that's where I think the charm comes from. Is they can somehow bring a very serious conversation into a movie about cars. Right?
Yeah, it's which should just be cars squawking at each other really annoyingly, and then every kid would love it. But it's more than that, right? It doesn't have to be, but it is.
And that's funny because I think that just comes from our age of growing up with cartoons that would do that, right? This is a movie about cars.
Yes. So I mean, yes, it would be the worst parts of the Transformers cartoon show, just filler episodes of robot vehicles talking to each other and doing stupid stuff. Whereas this is actually I'm still unclear about the rules of the world of Cars because there's planes, there's ships, and they're all just vehicles.
But no people.
I'm starting to think it might be Cybertron. I'm starting to think it might be a weird a utopian future of Cybertron, where cars. No,
I figured it out. This is the post-apocalyptic future of WALL-E. So they get back and they realize they can't fix their bodies, so they just turn themselves into machines. I figured it out.
Working out is too hard. Let's just turn into machine. They make the conscious choice. I'd rather be a machine than get on the elliptical. Oh, that's good.
No, that's funny. That I am honestly, I am completely flabbergasted. This is my most surprising, this is the most surprising answer that you've ever given. I think on this show. I knew
it would get you.
And it's nothing I have against the cars. I just not a car person, and I just I remember when those movies came out. I was it was kind of weird because I had this weird kind of relationship with Pixar. I loved the original Pixar's, from the beginning, but for some reason. One Pixar movie, which I mean, we could, you'd always have it later, is I was so overhyped for Finding Nemo that it just totally drained my ability for Pixar movies after that for a little while. Like I just like everyone was just so hyped for a Pixar movie. I'm just like, I don't know, like I don't really care anymore. And that's when Cars started
It's
coming out and Incredibles coming out, and we were in
yep.
college at that time. I'm just like, I don't really want to watch these right now. I just like it really wasn't like hitting me the right way like they used to, right?
Maybe like we talked about this before. It's not being made for us anymore. You know,
Yeah,
it's like targeting a different demographic for sure.
yeah. So it's like I kind of like, it's not that they were bad. Like I liked those movies. I'm saying it's just like it wasn't they weren't. It just there was the wrong timing. But
Like
the car movies, I've seen the third one kind of like I've seen it like, but from a distance, kind of watching it. Like my kids have watched it, but I definitely didn't sit down and watch it with them. It was just on, and I just sit down and watch like scenes from it. So I get the sense of where you get that from is why you might get that impression. Like it was a good kind of story and
and it
a talk of age and dealing like almost like acceptance too, right? Because he's accepting
mhm.
it right at the
it
end.
takes all the way up to the almost the end of the movie for him to kind of like figure it out. Like he starts getting it like little by little. And it's like it's the difference between thinking like somebody who is using simulators and has the state of the art equipment to train for a race, or thinking like a racer and like actually using your instincts and your experience. And I love Doc Hudson from the beginning, and I think it was like Paul Newman. No, I don't know who the voice for the first Cars movie, who Doc Hudson was. But then like they bring in the third one his like old buddies into it, and they're kind of like the voice of the past. And they're like they give Lightning McQueen and Cruz like some more information about the past, and also like teach them about like what it is to be a racer. It's more than just going fast. It's outsmarting other people. I'm not a car guy either. I never like thought I would be somebody that would enjoy these kinds of movies. And believe me, Larry the Cable Guy and Mater are the worst parts of the movie. But it is Paul Newman. It is Paul Newman as Doc Hudson. Um, and that is, as it says on Wikipedia, his final acting role was as Doc Hudson in Cars before he died.
Wow.
But like the third one does a great job of kind of bringing this whole thing. Yeah, it's Owen Wilson as Lightning.
Wow.
Bringing the whole thing like full circle and like calling back to the first movie. Now, Cars 2 is garbage. I would never watch that movie.
It's funny. I was messaging my brother about this last night, and I was like saying like how the ones I missed were these, and he's like, yeah, the second one's horrible. Like this 1 and 2 are pretty good. Like I mean,
it's a spy thriller about Mater starring Michael Caine, and like Lightning McQueen is in it for like 7 minutes of the film, and you don't see any racing.
Weird.
So my son who loved the first one and like was really into racing. He's got his own little track. He's got his Lightning McQueen car. He's got his cars and he races them. And he knows all the characters from the first one. The second one basically like spit in our faces. We were like, oh, this is terrible. There's like the show racing for only like 3 minutes. Did your
son actually agree? Like he didn't like it either. He's like,
well, because he'll want to watch a movie he's like, can we watch this one again? And he has never talked about Cars 2 since we watched it. He's never even brought it up. But he has asked for Cars 3 like a couple of times, and we've just like randomly watched it. He's like, can we watch the one? I think it's the third one with the Demolition Derby. And I'm like, yes, we can watch that.
The Demolition Derby. I remember that part a little bit.
He loves that Demolition Derby scene. And I actually like it too. It's fun.
It's funny.
Fun. I don't care. All right, Justin, now that I've flabbergasted you.
Well, since we've already brought it up, because this is the prequel to the Cars movie, my next honorable mention is Wall-E.
Oh, good. All right, this was one of mine too, and I don't have much to say about it, so please.
Here's the thing: like, I've only watched Wall-E a couple of times. Like I haven't watched it like a ton. I remember seeing it the first time. Yeah, yep. Me too. I watched it again. I think we got Disney Plus. I put it on and I watched it with the kids, and I was just like. I remember liking it the first time I watched it. I'm like, wow, this is amazing that they made this kind of movie. I don't think I need to watch this again. I got what I needed from it. It's like exactly. you got like almost like 7 viewings of my favorite movie. I got from 1 viewing of this movie. Like I don't need to see this again. But like
you got it. Like yeah, you received everything that this movie was like. They were putting down some things and you picked them right up. You knew what. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I am
I
just
get you.
still blown away by finally, with that distance with that movie. I didn't check the year it came out, but like it had been like at least 10 years since that came out. It had been around 2010, I would think.
2008 for Wally.
2008,
2008.
so a
Yep.
little like close to 10 years.
12. Yeah.
So like I was like, okay, let's watch this again. I think the kids would like it because they hadn't seen it. And they enjoyed it a lot. They really liked it. I had to like kind of coax them into it though, because I think they were just like wasn't sure, but like they end up loving it, afterwards, But and it's just something about like I was still blown away 10 years later about how amazing it looked. Like we said, how Toy
Mm-hmm.
Story, that movie like is just something special about the animation and how they handle it and the story and plus like the uniqueness of bringing in live actors into a Pixar movie,
I
making
know, right?
it's such a that is really what made that whole thing hit home. I think the most and really kind of conveyed that story of what can happen to the human race in that scenario. It's like, okay,
Gotta have
here's what
humans in it.
you got
Yeah.
to have an actual. You can't have an animated human. You have to like
Gotta be Fred
transform.
Willard.
Yeah,
Rest in peace,
I
Fred
love.
Willard.
I know. So it's such a good choice for that too, right?
Right? Yeah.
But like you really root for Wally so much in that movie, and you really want him to like. And it's like that typical like cause and effect type movie. We talked about this in the Back to the Future. It's like this does this and this does this and this does this.
Yep.
It's like he finds this and that knocks this thing over and has that kind of vibe. But like it works better than a lot of the ones that ever did because it's very smart in the way it handles it. And it like I don't know, I just really like it a lot. And I don't like I said I don't have much
It,
to say about it because it's like what is it saying? It's saying that we polluted our planet, we got to leave our planet to try to fix it, but then things fail. You can't really rely on that backup plan and that major company or whatever government or whatever that was doing it.
mm-hmm.
And you get acquainted, you adapt to the new norm. That's just kind of the human way, I guess. And
We like that's one thing I remember I wrote down. I was like, yeah, this movie does a good job of showing like making us face our like instant gratification society
yep,
and also our knack for short term thinking as human beings. Like, well, this is how things are now, so okay, I'll just adapt to the way this is now. You know.
yeah,
But I think that's like part of like it is a very charming movie. It's because so much of it, especially in the beginning, is nonverbal. So you get like just
yeah,
like emotions, right? So
yeah.
it's like watching Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin, like silent movies. These guys just like giving you all these emotions and action without ever saying a word,
Mm-hmm.
And like the design of Wally is so damn cute too.
Yep.
And so like it makes his whole quest that much more charming and like enjoyable because you're rooting for this little guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning when all he can do is just like say his name and then you see Eve and she can say his name and her name and they like develop compassion for each other and they show like a range of human emotions that no human shows in the movie,
Yep.
you know? So yeah, it is, but it's like what can we say about this movie that hasn't been said like dozens of times already? you
Yeah.
know, Ecological consequences,
Yeah, and
all that
I
stuff.
feel like that's like
It's
a really good
good.
message, but like I feel like that's just like almost like a backdrop to the story that is being told about Wally and it's like really it's a story about a robot oddly finding some sort of sense of love or just
Romance.
or companionship like cuz he is by himself and I don't think he even realized what having a companion really is. I mean, it's like
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting that he adapted and changed and got smart and almost like he adapted unlike he adapted in a different way to survive where the humans just kind of
Yep.
adapted and was sort of just like we'll just sit here and accept the new norm.
But I do like that in the end. Like it's not like it's too late. The captain eventually does stand up and like learn to walk again. And you
Yeah,
know,
it shows that kind of sense of like human like okay there's something that needs to be done like that human deep nature. It's like he didn't have any
yep.
direction. He didn't know what to do except for when something happened, and it's kind of a sad kind of take on that. It's like, well, we'll only do something when something happens, but like it is kind of cool that like I like the little like end of that movie where they show them creating a civilization and like almost thriving and planting and there's like
Yep.
it's in the
Yep.
credits or something like that. They're just growing things and stuff like that. I thought that was a kind of a cool way to end that. But no, it's just such a cool I mean, the movie's just cool. I keep saying cool over and over again. And
I like when they tip out of their chairs and they're like, "Oh, I'm
yeah,
falling out," and then
yeah.
like a thing comes, it's like the mobile assist will be with you, and it like like tips them back into
Well,
their chairs.
it isn't like the wheel. Like he tries to take over too. Like the robots. There's
That's the crux of it, is that the wheel is like, no, my directive is to save humans, and the only way to save them is to keep them here, keep them safe. So keep them on this mission, keep me in charge. I forget, like it doesn't feel like it's very much like a HAL 9000 kind of like evil computer
Yep.
type of thing.
Yeah.
But they don't really explain its motivations other than like this is what it's trying to do, like give human beings a comfortable life. Which is funny though. Go ahead.
No, but I just find it funny, like when the human starts realizing this, like the captain, he sees all the images, and then he's always like behind them.
Yep, every portrait of every captain, that like giant wheel, red eye is like next to him. It's like, was he in the camp, like in shot every time? We're like, come on, get in the picture. You're just as important as me. But no, it's definitely a good movie. If you haven't seen the movie, it's definitely worth seeing for sure. If you haven't, it's like, did you live under a rock? Because it's like it was everywhere. It's such a it was a Pixar movie that people that didn't watch animation movies were like, you need to see this. I remember friends of ours were saying like, I went and saw WALL-E. I was like, really? I wouldn't even beg you to go see, any animated movie in theaters, but no, that was its appeal.
It's definitely one of Pixar's crowning achievements of just having the risk to do that kind of a movie too. That's like the other thing I think I took out of rewatching it. It's like, how do they even like propose this idea? I mean, granted they were at a good standing by that point, but it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a movie where no one talks for an hour. It's
first like 45 minutes, no one's talking except for robots. That's another short too, by the way. Like Bernie, right? Wasn't there? They did a short they did a Pixar short of the little robot that like cleans up.
Oh, the one that's obsessed with. Yeah, he's funny. Yeah, yes. The robots. I love how the robots have character in that too. It's so good.
Yes, they do. Even though they're all like functional, specific, and they have their own jobs, they're all cute. They all like do
except for the ones that are dysfunctional. Remember, they have the group of dysfunctional ones, and they're just running amok. Those are just really funny. Oh man, it's just like you're. Oh man, now I want to watch that movie again. You're making me excited about it.
It might be worth seeing it again. I'm sure because it's like 12 years old now. But I like you said, I agree. I don't think like it will look dated at all because the way that world looked and like even just how like dirty and kind of run down WALL-E himself looked, and he looks like Johnny Five.
Yeah.
Isn't that like the appeal to us? Like the short circuit movies, like trying to appeal to us a little bit. Like he's a Johnny Five, but he shuts up, which makes it cool. Because that's the worst part of Short Circuit is anytime Johnny Five talks.
Oh, I don't agree, but okay.
Need input. All right. Justin, that was your honorable mention. It was mine too, so we kind of shared that one. I don't know. Do you wanna give me your next one, or do you want me to go?
You can go next.
I've got one more I can talk about a little bit.
Okay, go ahead. You go next.
I'm going to talk about Onward.
I knew you would. I knew you liked this movie a lot.
Okay. A lot is maybe too much. I like it. It's good. There's some good things in this movie. It's very predictable, though. I'm not going to lie. Like it's kind of a Pixar movie by the numbers. Like what's going to happen, sort of in the end. Like there's going to be some kind of revelation, and the two brothers are going to bond over this thing that they're doing.
Well, I just think you liked it a lot because there's centaurs in it. That's the only thing I.
Oh, of course, yes, because we love centaurs. Me in particular, I love centaurs. I guess. But I mean, like it's very like episodic. It's kind of just like it is like watching a video game because it's a bunch of fetch quests.
Yep.
And getting the proper sword to fight the dragon that is unleashed.
I think the thing that made that movie was the voice actors of Tom Holland.
So and Tom Holland and Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that was really good.
their chemistry is what makes it for me, because it is kind of like silly at times. There's a weird like dance break in the middle of the movie that's like unnecessary, but the way that they talk to each other is very much like how brothers of like that kind of age gap, you and I have this experience, how you kind of interact with a person that you're related to of that age. So I don't know. Like, and I also like that there's like a Dungeons and Dragons equivalent game that they actually use to find the gem and cast the spell to see their father.
Yeah.
They actually, it's like the Dungeons and Dragons game is based on real life, and like we forgot about it. So I like to think that maybe not Dungeons and Dragons, maybe Hero Quest is based on real life, and we just forgot about its history.
It's a good day to bring up Hero. Good day to bring up Hero Quest. Thanks.
It's a good day to bring it up. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's by numbers movie, but it's charming, and I like the world that it sets up. I would be interested to see more of it.
It is interesting to see how they handled that kind of storytelling. I mean, I got the impression it didn't feel like that that Pixar charm as much as I'm used to. There was something about it. I feel like that was like
it's very cluttered.
Yeah, it feels more like a Disney animation kind of storytelling than it did Pixar. I don't know why.
I can buy that. There's a lot going on and like nothing too much in depth. Like
I feel like it's the side characters in that movie that kind of lose its thing, because like you think of all the Pixar movies that are out there, you tend to like we just talked about a movie about WALL-E where we talk about almost every character in the movie. And like this one, we're just talking about the brothers, which they're kind of cool, and like you got centaurs.
The mom is cool. The mom is cool, voiced by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, by the way.
Oh, really? That's her? I didn't know that. So it's funny. My opinion of that movie was weird because I was watching with my kids, and my youngest daughter was extremely afraid of the pants of the dad with no body.
Oh my god!
She just I don't like it. She would hide whenever he was in the scene. Like she was so scared that he didn't have a body. Like for some reason, she just didn't. She wasn't 4 yet. I think when we watched it, because I tried to think of when it came out. But it was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, it was early. It was in March of this year. It came out. And
then I was before that.
I was. We had the exact opposite experience in this house. That dad was like the source of much enjoyment from my son. Just watching because he was like, "What is that pair of pants doing?" And I was like, "Well," I'm like, "It's half of their dad," and you just crack up. It's like because my son has never seen Weekend at Bernie's. So he's never seen like a floppy.
As he shouldn't be seeing Weekend at Bernie's.
Well, of course, because it's a bad movie. But I mean, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of like, oh, we're this guy is normal, everything's fine. They put like the body, like the floppy body, and like sunglasses and hat.
Mm-hmm.
Like that provided a lot of comedic relief in our house. Just the legs were very funny for myself. But okay. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Onward. It's fine.
Gotcha.
Watch it if you got some free time.
So I have a quick mini surprise topic for you because I feel like we have to have this conversation, and you can steer me the wrong way if you feel like
you need to have this conversation. Okay.
Well, I mean, what made Pixar what it was? It's Toy Story, but there's been more than one. Should I wait to have this conversation with you?
No, it's not. It's not my favorite. I wanted to talk about it a bunch.
Okay. So, do you have a favorite Toy Story movie? Is my question.
So I haven't seen the fourth one yet.
Okay, that's fine.
But
I don't think that would be your fourth favorite one, though.
I really, really enjoyed the third one.
Okay.
I really liked it. Like the first one, like the second one, I didn't like.
I don't know.
It was just kind of boring. It's like Cars 2. It's like you were trying to do something, you just kind of continued the story.
I mean, it meant to be more.
Okay.
I think it meant to be more funny, if anything, and sort of almost give like what Woody, sort of an origin story, right? But yeah, I don't remember like it kind of lost with it lost its charm a little bit to me. I mean, I still liked it, But
Yeah.
1, obviously, and 3 are different kind of tiers.
I mean, 1 was such a huge like watershed moment in like filmmaking too. Like everybody had seen it. I had the Super Nintendo game, which was impossibly hard, and beating it was like one of the greatest achievements of my childhood. Let me just tell you, beating that game for Super Nintendo and Super Return of the Jedi were like two moments I remember very distinctly from childhood.
Do you like race to the car at the end, or what do you do in the game?
Oh my god, the car when you have to control RC, there's like 2 or 3 levels like that. They are impossibly hard and they're weird to control.
Like Battletoads hard?
No, not like Battletoads hard. Okay, fine. You always bring out the nuclear option when we're talking about hard games. I'm just saying, it's like you know, it was probably made by like Screen Dynamics or something. You know, it's a weird tie-in movie game. You know, it's never exactly what you want. But it has like the 3D rendered graphics, so it's kind of like Donkey Kong Country in the design. And like with like the rendered backgrounds and characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's all right. It's okay to play. It's tough though. Like and it's kind of janky.
Anyways,
but yeah, Toy Story 1 is great. It's a great movie. I really like Toy Story 3 though. I think I'd have to put 3 as my favorite of the 3 I've seen.
See, it's like
3, 1, 2.
I bounce back and forth because it's 1 or 3 because I feel like 1. There's just something special about 1. Like you said, it's like you watch it, you're just amazed in how well it's stood up and everything like that. But there was like a deepness to 3, and I remember like I watched it prior to having kids. I'm like, okay, I liked it. It was fine. I get it. I don't know why everyone was crying so much. Like I didn't understand it. I didn't get the sadness. I didn't understand. I was like, okay, I got it. Like it was like kind of sad, but like it didn't hit me at all. Mm-hmm. And I watched it with my daughter when she, turned like 2 or 3, and then I was a baby. It was like it just hit me the right way. Yep. And I'm like, why is this making me cry so much? Like this didn't happen the first time. It's like not even that cry. It's like more like that tense choke upness.
You just
it's
get
like,
choked up.
Yeah. So it's like it's like because I feel like it's like you're watching some sort of like a different. Maybe when that movie came out, it didn't hit me the right way. I don't know what it was. Being a parent, maybe you just have like the sense of loss hit me more.
That's exactly it. Like a kid can relate to like, oh, a toy that I had when I was really young, I don't have it anymore, and I can kind of get that feeling. But that is made for us. Like that was made for definitely like not just like parents, but I guess like people like when you get a little bit older and you're kind of like letting go of the past, but trying to like give something to the future and like give. It's kind of a big deal. Like, what do you do with your toys when you're old enough? Like, if you don't have kids, like, what do you do with them? Or like, if you're moving out, like, where do they go? Do they get played with? Do they love them the way you love them? Like, it's attachment to things, but it's like about like how to kind of let go of things as well, mm-hmm. right? And like you can do your best. You can try to Because I mean, like the story in Toy Story 3 it is kind of like tragic because it's like okay, they go to like the daycare, and some are loved, and it's this weird like caste system, right?
Yeah.
Like the best toys go here, and like the new ones go there, and they get like mangled. So it's this hierarchical society, but at the end, like it is about like finding somebody that'll appreciate what you loved so much and like passing that on to that person. So yeah, of course, like parents are gonna choke up. I had like tears in my eyes, choking up. I wasn't crying. My son is sitting next to me, like just enjoying the movie, and I'm like,
oh yay, he's sharing, yay.
I'm like, isn't it good that he gave those to the little girl? Andy's a real stand-up kid,
I mean, the one thing that hit me though is when they were in the incinerator. Though that's the part that I think
yeah, it was crazy.
that's like, oh, are you serious? Like they're gonna do this? Like I wasn't
Yeah, when
sure.
they started holding hands, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do this.
I'm like, Pixar? Are you really gonna do this at this point? Are you really gonna like go that direction? Come on now. I mean, come on. I mean,
How do you end a franchise? Literally up in smoke.
it's like, oh man, it's like, oh, okay, great, they figured it out, awesome, and it's a great way for them to do it though, because they use the claw. Like I thought that was really funny.
Yes, yes. I was glad to see those guys came back because they weren't really in the second one. I was
Yeah.
glad to see because they were such a funny part of the first movie. They're like, the claw is our master. The claw knows everything.
The fourth one isn't bad. Like the fourth one, if anything, animation, it was just like awesome. Like for Toy Story, it was like I was nuts how well they did it. I mean, I would say it's quite kind of like in the essence of two, where it's like, okay, you have this story and you do this thing, and but there is a sense of like kind of like deepness to it. It's like, you know, Woody trying to understand that, you know, he can't always be the number one toy. You know, that's kind of like the vibe of the movie, but like it was more funny than anything else. Like it didn't have that weight of one or three. You know, it's like that was the impression I got from it. But like I was happy with it, had a good time with it. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again, but you know, I think my favorite is one though, because I feel like it's a good standalone movie. Like you kind of need
a sequel.
Yeah, like it doesn't really need a sequel at all. Like you could just keep it the way it is. You kind of wanted one because like when you saw it as a kid, you're like, oh my god, you can do so much for this world. But like when you get the sequels, it's like oh, I see where this would have gone. Like how long can you do that, right? It's like how long can you keep going with it? But so yeah, that was my other honorable mention, was just Toy Story in general. Like I feel like that's really what made Pixar what it was, and I love the first one. I do want to shout out Bug's Life though. I feel like that doesn't get enough credit. I like Bug's Life a lot.
I've never seen it.
It's a good movie. You did. You talked about the Offering Stone. That's from Bug's Life.
Oh really? Then I've forgotten everything about it. Except for that one German bug.
Oh,
Please tell me his name is like Hans or something.
Hans? I don't know. I guess we could look it up over the break.
No thanks. I will not.
I'm sure I can talk about other Pixar movies, but I want to see what your favorite is before we go further.
Yes, I'm excited to hear what yours is too. I thought I knew, but now I'm not so sure.
We'll find out.
All right, man. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about our favorite.
And we're doing a podcast, and Paul's sitting in front of a cat. Hello, we're back.
Sitting at a microphone, talking to my friend.
I mean, just up on the break there, we were talking about how Randy Newman and the Family Guy skit. If you've ever seen that, go look it up.
So good. Randy Newman singing about everything he sees.
So we're going to finish off our favorite Pixar movie episode, and I'm actually love this conversation. Before the show, we weren't sure because there wasn't a lot of movies that we realized that that Pixar has made. We thought we had made way more than they did, but there's so much to talk about. So,
but they've got a nice little catalog here for us to discuss. It's been good. So Justin, I will tell you my absolute favorite Pixar movie. I think a lot of people would share this opinion. It's Ratatouille.
Wow, the one that I have never seen.
Really?
I was
going to say, of course, it's a food-related movie, but yes. Another one.
You have flabbergasted me again.
Yes, twice in one episode. Perfect. Got you on the ropes now. So you've never seen Ratatouille? Wow, I think it's one of their best. And if you talk about when we were saying in the intro when we were talking about like they had a whole programs designed for rendering hair. Just doing the fur of each of the rats is pretty amazing. Like the way that they make real people in that movie integrate with like the cartoon rats, like it looks good. And like the people are all kind of like, cartoonish in their own ways. Like the critic at the very end is very dour. He's got very thin, spindly, like spider fingers.
Yeah,
dark eyes. Like, yeah, you would automatically assume like, well, yeah, clearly that guy is evil. But I mean, it's a good movie about like following your instincts and like following your passions. And I'm gonna bring this back around to when we were talking about Kiki's Delivery Service in
Nice.
Studio Ghibli, because both of them, in this movie, Remy is the main character, voiced by Patton Oswalt, comedian Patton Oswalt. It's also like done by Brad Bird, who did most of the animation, I think, for it. The guy who did The Incredibles. He's done other stuff for Pixar too, but he was also an animator on The Simpsons, and a lot of like Simpsons design and stuff, and like some of the best animation was his. So I really like Brad Bird's stuff, and he makes cartoon food look delicious, and like, oh man, I wish I could eat that.
That was my first question. I was like, how does the food look?
Food looks good, and he actually portrays like a brigade style kitchen, like a restaurant kitchen, pretty well. Remy is with his family in the beginning, and they're like living near a house. I'm not going to explain the whole movie to you, but it's just like he has like this like really good palate. He could taste things, and he sees like all of his family and his brother eating garbage all the time, and he's like, "Why are you eating that?" He's like, so he finds like a piece of like like Roquefort, like some nice like blue cheese, and like a mushroom, and he's like, "Oh," and then eat these together. And like his brother's just like eating that, and then like eating a banana peel. And he's like, no, like you have to taste these things. So his family finds out that he's got this really refined palate. So they make him a poison sniffer. So like anytime, like there's the lady that in the house that they live in is trying to poison all the rats.
Oh my God.
So they just bring their food when they find food. They just bring it to him, and he just like smells it. He's like, good. Poison, like just that's what he does, and that's what actually reminded me of Kiki's Delivery Service, because he wants to be a chef. He wants to like enjoy food and like express himself through that art, and just like Kiki with being a witch and flying and all that. But what do they have to do? They have to turn it into a job. So Kiki turned it into a delivery service. Remy is the food sniffer, the poison sniffer for his family. So they have a passion, but for whatever reason, they have to perform it in a job-like way. But I mean, it's a great movie about like actually like truly like finding what your passion is, even if you can't pursue it in the way that you think, because the ending of it is not what people would normally like associate with like a Pixar movie or a Disney movie for that matter. Because in the end, the restaurant that he's like working in, like the gist of it, right? He's like controlling a chef.
My understanding is I've seen trailers, and he's a mini game in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay, well tell me. All right, well tell me, what do you know about the story? What do you know about Ratatouille?
He helps the chef make really awesome food. That's all I know.
Yeah, and like the head chef of the current place is like kind of the enemy, and also the critic is kind of the enemy. But in the end, he makes him a dish, and I love it because it was so good. It made the critic remember how his mom used to make the dish for him. Like, and there's like this flashback sequence, and he's like immediately the critic is like, "What you're doing is great. I support you." Even when he finds out it's a rat that's doing it. But what happens in the end is the restaurant's closed because of a rat infestation. So the restaurant gets shut down. But then later on, they open their own restaurant, and it's like, oh, look, yes, these rats can do it because they're special and they're sanitary. They like, I don't know, they come up with like a reason for why it is. But it's like pets. Mixing like a bittersweet ending. It's not like he gets to inherit this awesome restaurant and take over like they thought they would. The restaurant gets closed because of rats, because there were rats cooking food. So. No, that's a funny ending. I like it a lot. It is really good. It's well animated. The voice cast is great. Yeah, you would really dig this. I'm really surprised you haven't seen it.
It came out that weird time for me. I don't know what it was. Like I forget when that came out. I was looking at it. I feel like that was the year. I was looking at it last night. That was the year I moved to Pennsylvania. So that was the year that it came out. So it's like I think it's just like. That was a weird time in my life, that couple of years just trying to adapt to moving out of my parents' house and all that stuff, and I just missed it. And I seemed interesting. It just kind of went, I didn't want to go back to it either.
I got to be honest with you though. I have to say like 90% of the Pixar movies I've seen in the last like 2 years.
Wow.
Like I
That's
really I didn't have a need to see them, and then all of a sudden I have a son who's interested in these movies, and I was like, okay, well I'll watch them too.
that's
And
funny because like my kids don't want to watch Pixar movies. They'll watch like Disney animated movies, but I have to like really kind of force them to watch Pixar movies. It's really weird. But maybe because I have girls and like they want to watch princess stuff more, or
maybe
well,
it
and then
is.
my oldest wants to watch Naruto all the time now. That's all she cares about. They like watching shows though. They don't like watching
Okay.
movies. They want to see like episodes over and over again.
Okay.
And
All
so,
right.
but it's like I get them, I coax them into it, and they watch it. But no, I have to try that someday. I maybe do it with Disney Plus. Maybe I can convince one of them to watch it. But we'll see. I decided to watch a different movie instead of Ratatouille to try to fill in my holes of Pixar. That's not my favorite, but I do want to shout it out because I got the impression from what I told you last night that I watched it that you might bring it up today. I want to shout out Coco because I watched it last night.
Yes. I was
And
wondering if that was going to be like your new favorite.
I don't know, like I feel like I need to watch it
It's a
again.
good flick.
It's hard because like you have like favorite kind of nostalgia part of that kind of it's not like is it we never do these shows to say what's best, right? It's like it's all about
Sure.
favorite meaning then that history kind of helps decide if it's your favorite or not. But I do want to shout out Coco because I really really was surprised on how much I liked it because I for some reason that movie never really appealed to me when it first released. Just the trailers and the concept and
Sure.
I don't know what it was. It just didn't really grab me. And then Amber had seen it a few times, my wife, and she's like, yeah, I can't believe you haven't watched it. You need to watch this because she'd seen it and she's like was so happy I was watching it last night. She's like, I knew you would like it. And the reason I'm doing this is a reason to segue into my favorite.
Oh.
And the reason I like that movie so much, and I can come back to it if I needed to, because it is such a well done. Coco is such a well done, and I think a surprisingly good movie at Pixar, like how it's handled storytelling wise and music and animation and just the world. But the reason I like it is because I like these Pixar movies that create that kind of other world. And I was saying this in the middle of Pixar, like this makes me think of Monsters Incorporated.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which is my favorite.
Good stuff. It is good stuff. I will say I enjoyed both of those films, Incorporated and University. I enjoyed them both.
I haven't seen it in University yet, unfortunately. I haven't watched that one yet.
You would like it. It's also really coolly animated. But
like,
please tell me about it.
So Monsters Inc. Like that one is the one that hit me at the right time, I guess. Like I was like beginning of college. I was really like always excited for Pixar movies because I liked all the Toy Story ones and I liked Bugs Life. I think Monster Inc. was one of the first, the newer ones, right? It was just like what Pixar. It was like Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Incorporated. Is that how it goes? I feel like it was like
it was okay. Monsters Inc. is the fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was really
2001.
I was really excited about that movie because it's just like I was like seeing like the big jump in animation. I was like looking for something new. I thought it looked cool. The voice cast looked great. I mean, you had John Goodman, Billy Crystal, the actor from Fargo. What's his name?
Oh, what's his name? Yes. Oh gosh.
Belushi, John Belushi.
No, not John Belushi.
Why am I saying Belushi?
John Belushi's dead, and Jim Belushi's a weirdo. It's God damn it! Oh, you're killing me.
Jennifer Tilly was like the girlfriend. Yeah, it's like it just had a really awesome voice cast. Steve Buscemi. I'm sorry. Okay,
Steve Buscemi. Yes. Gosh, I'm like looking it up now. Like Steve Buscemi. Yes. James Coburn. Jennifer Tilly is in it.
But like, I don't know what that movie just like. It just like hit me like as far as like comedy, like the world that it built, like the concept of like taking screen to like create like a network and him working in like an electrical company, like. Mm-hmm. But like I would quote that movie over and over and over with my roommate in college when that movie came out. Like we would be like walking on the street like in the campus, and he would yell "Boo!" and I'm like, "Kitty!" or something, or like back and forth, we flip it or whatever like that. But like we just love that kind of relationship that was built between Sully and Boo. You know, like that relationship was really what sold that movie. And man, watching it again when you have daughters, oh my god, it's like I'm like watching I'm watching my child on the screen. That's what it feels like. And it's like I just like her like going through it, like talking like a kid. Like him, like that moment where he watches her like almost go into the trash compactor. Like I love that scene where the faces and expressions they give him. It's just like everything about that was so awesome. Like I don't know what it is about that movie that really gets me. It's like, I mean, the messaging is obviously very, like any Pixar movie, it's like has a really good message to it. It's very to the point, and you can easily pick it up because it's meant to be for kids. But yet there was this sense of like adult humor to it too. You know, it's like more so I feel like than most, because I don't know what it was, because you're seeing him like go to work and like try to reach like the top of the thing, and I don't know, I really like that movie a lot. And
it's an interesting world, right? Because at first it feels like, oh, like what are the rules of this place? Like, okay, monsters, they make an energy, but they sell it, and really the chemistry between Billy Crystal and John Goodman is what like really makes it. Like they're great voice talents, and I forgot, like I didn't realize how, like I don't think of, when I hear John Goodman's voice in anything, I'm like, oh, that's John Goodman. But Billy Crystal playing Mike, like I forget that it's Billy Crystal. Like he is very much that character, the little eyeball man. Like I think you would really, really enjoy Monsters University too.
Yep.
I really think
I'm gonna go back and watch
it.
I just got so weirded out about the whole sequel thing. Like it's just like, oh really? Like that was like a movie where I just like, it was always been my favorite. It really, nothing's really ever topped it in my mind. And I was like, I don't want them to make a sequel. I don't want them to make a prequel. Like I almost like was like, I was kind of like, I was just like really against it for some odd reason, and it's really funny.
Is that the first prequel to a?
Yes. I don't think
it's the only. I think it's the only prequel. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't feel like a lot of their movies kind of could work with a prequel.
Right? Yeah, it's because it's how Mike and Sully meet and actually become friends, and it's a lot more complicated than just like, oh, they meet and they're opposites and then they figure each other out. It's more than that, and there's more at stake, and there's like, I don't know. I think you'd really enjoy it. I think it's I wanted to shout them out, so I'm glad that you brought this up. And specifically, the university one is the most recent one I saw, but I've seen the first one a lot.
Yeah,
and it's good. Like I love Randall.
Yeah,
love in terms of like he's so like slimy and gross. It's just like, ugh. And that's the kind of person he is. But he's in the university, so you need to see what Randall is like in the past.
Okay. I will definitely go back to it and watch that one. But no, yeah, Monsters Inc. is just, it's just such a, the ending is so endearing, like to like the whole like chase to save Boo. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just awesome. Like that's the thing too. Like is the room of doors. Like the idea of the door concept was so cool. And when they were kind of chasing through the doors, you see all the doors and moving around. Such a cool little world that they built.
I love the Yeti too in the Himalayas. That's voiced by John Ratzenberger, who is in like every Pixar movie ever made.
Yeah.
Now that we're kind of like winding down here, Justin, there's a couple notable ones we haven't mentioned. I mean, we could shout them out, like The Incredibles. Like we really didn't talk about them much, but I gotta tell you, I've not seen either one of them. Of The Incredibles.
I didn't see the second one. I know people love The Incredibles, and again, that was like during that time period. And I've seen most of it, and there's something about that one that never clicked with me. It seemed like a great movie. It has a good vibe to it, like any other Pixar movie. But that one, those don't really kind of hit me the way I wanted them to. I guess I don't want Pixar to do superhero movies. I guess like that was like what I think that's what it is. Like I'm I'm not going to watch a Pixar movie to watch superheroes. I'm going to a Pixar movie to watch bugs, crawl around or
See a bug story.
But like other Pixar movies that I feel like deserve shout, like all of them do. Like Brave is actually a very good movie. Like that's an amazing movie, actually, visually astounding.
I love the animation of that.
Inside Out has a great concept to it. It's actually really fun. Like I mean,
need to shout that one out. Yep.
I mean, there's just so many good ones. I mean, it's like the ones that I say that I don't really want to talk. Honestly, I like Finding Dory more than I liked Finding Nemo. Just because you hear Sigourney Weaver the whole time, and it's really funny.
Yes, I love that Sigourney Weaver is in there. Yes, Finding Dory I think is better than Finding Nemo, but I would put both of those kind of low on the list of
but I would say the reason why I don't like Nemo as much because I don't like was it Martin the dad?
Oh, you don't like
he's just
his name. You don't like his voice? You don't like his voice
it's just his pessimistic Marlin. It's like his like complaining all the time. Like you get that a lot in the first one. It's always him complaining. Where I kind of like Dory and the octopus. Like the octopus is great. In Finding Dory, like I love him. I think he's
Dory's story is like tragic. It's like this fish that can't remember anything. It's like, oh my god, that would be terrible. But like, Marlin, voiced by Albert Brooks, who's actually really funny and like, good actor, good comedian. But his voice is always like, I'm always so stressed all the time.
It's so funny because I think the way you did that messed up like the audio quality, so it sounded like a robot. So it's like it was perfect the way you just. It's like his voice sounds like.
Good.
But no, you can go nuts with all the different Pixar movies. It's kind of hard to find aside from The Good Dinosaur, which I think is probably the bottom of the list.
Probably.
But it's like they're all pretty good in the most part. I'm actually kind of really curious about their next one, which is Soul.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's supposed to come out in November of this year.
Not sure how that's going to work out with theaters and everything.
I don't know. We'll see.
But yeah, Monsters Inc. is my favorite. Coco was really good though, and I really want to just say like how much I was surprised that.
I really enjoyed it.
The ending really got me when he sings a song to the great grandma. That oh my god, like that just.
See, that's what I was.
I had like wetness on my cheek. Okay, so like
I felt it.
It wasn't choke up. It was just like, man, they did that so well. Like, and I kind of wish I watched that movie without knowing because I knew the twist. Going into this movie, like I knew who his grandpa was and stuff like that. Like, because Amber had kind of explained it. Because I'm like, I don't know if I watch this movie. Just tell me how it ends. And I kind of wish I didn't know, but like I don't think it ruined the journey though. Like it was still really really good. So I really want to shout that out because it is fresh in my mind. So.
Yes, I will. I enjoyed that film quite a bit too. I think it's good, and that's what I thought. I really thought your surprise topic was going to be what's your favorite song from a Pixar movie. It was going to be "Remember Me."
It's a good song.
So it's very very good song. But all right, Justin, we did it. We talked about just about every Pixar movie there is.
Yeah, I think so. Even the shorts. Like I can't think if I missed any. Did we miss any?
No, we didn't mention. Well, we did mention it, but we didn't actually talk about it, and that's the movie Up. Let's not talk about it. It's not.
Okay. A lot of people like Up
too.
Up
is down, baby.
Up is fun. Squirrel.
It's fine. It's fine. Well, Justin, why don't you tell us what are we going to be doing next?
This was honestly, I think this was going to be a really really fun one. Like we've done these like favorite. Bad movies and bad TV shows, but I feel like this is going to be the one that like is really fun because who doesn't like
crowning jewel?
Who doesn't like a bad video game? Sometimes there's just something about. And what is a bad video game? Is it just badly made? Is it bad story? I think it's like just like this is a bad game. I can't really, but I really just something about it. I want to keep playing it because. It's just I like it. I know it's bad, but there's just something that gives me good feelings.
They got the hooks in you, and it's like they're not going to let you go until you play it all the way through.
I gotta beat this. I don't care about the story. I just gotta beat it.
Oh my god. There are so many games I could think of that it was just like, I don't care about the story. I'm just like pressing the button to like just keep going. I don't care. Skip the cutscene. Just get to the game.
Is it Toy Story, the video game? Is that what your favorite bad video game is?
It did have cutscenes. They were all just pictures with words. Super Nintendo cutscenes, you know. I was actually specifically thinking of the game The Mark of Cree, PlayStation 2. I don't know if you remember that one.
Didn't play that.
It had some story, and I'm like, I don't care, just get to the game.
I have one that I'm thinking of if it was on the Dreamcast that maybe you might bring up, but I won't talk about it now.
One that you would skip? What game for the Dreamcast would you skip the cutscenes for? That sounds almost... Well, yeah, sure. I want to hear it.
Sword of the Berserker.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Because they're like an hour long. They throw you in the middle of a movie. They throw you in the middle of a story that you don't know anything about the characters or like who they are, what they do, and then they give you a cutscene where these characters you've never met before are like meeting a brand new set of characters for 40 fucking minutes. I just remember, like, you kept pressing, like, the start button, like, okay. Like,
you played that game more than me.
Okay.
I knew that was a bad game, and you played that way more than I did.
Oh my god. I think people just like the anime, and they just wanted to watch it instead of playing the game. But it's not like the game was anything special. It's like, kill dudes with a giant sword. That's it.
Sounds great.
Yep. And get Berserk. His name is Gutsu.
Anyway.
All right.
We'll be doing that soon.
Yes.
Look forward to it. Because, you know.
Well, Justin, this has been Playing Favorites. I'm Paul.
And I'm Justin. Just sitting on a mic, ending the show. Because I'm Randy Newman again, and I don't sound like him at all.
Ready to press the button to turn off the podcast.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks.